Comprehensive dentistry at 14 convenient locations in Springfield, Chicopee, Longmeadow, West Springfield, Belchertown, East Longmeadow, Ludlow, Northampton, Greenfield, and Wilbraham, as well as 29 Broad Street in Westfield. Bay State Dental makes it a priority to help you achieve and maintain the healthy smile you deserve. On the web at baystatedental.com.
We thank the generosity of our underwriters. For more information, please contact the Westfield State Foundation at 413-572-8646.
Good morning, Westfield, Mass. 6:02 a.m. Thursday, June 21st, 2018. Pete, can you give me some volume? I can't hear myself. I can't even hear myself think this morning. There we go. Maybe that's... I don't know. As long as everybody else can hear me, I think I'm good. 57 degrees outside your door right now, getting up to 85. Going to be a beautiful day. We have had an unbelievable stretch of beautiful days. We've seen... beautiful summer weather. Early Sunday and Monday was, 95 degrees? It was brutally hot.
Yes.
Had a little bit of tornado warning and
that's what you
crazy
get when you
storms
get
Monday night.
Humid, muggy air, you know.
And now it's absolutely, it's gorgeous. It's a mid-80s, cool sleeping at night. Yeah. Looking at the forecast tomorrow, Friday the 22nd, 82 degrees. And then some unsettled weather comes in for the weekend. Doesn't look like we're going to have much. It doesn't look like a washout. Although Saturday, the front comes in, the high temperatures barely hitting 70 if it does hit 70 on Saturday.
The runners for the Boys and Girls Club Half Marathon are thanking their lucky stars because it's beautiful running weather.
Absolutely. Yeah. So Saturday the 23rd, overcast, gray, and cool, relatively speaking. Chance of a thunderstorm, heavier rain, maybe dinner time into the early evening Saturday. Sunday warms up, back up to 83. Partly sunny in the morning, and then thunderstorms roll in the afternoon. And then as you start back to the work week next week, Monday 77 and sunny, and then it gets warmer from there. By Wednesday, it's 87. Thursday, it's 88. Friday, it's 88. Next Saturday, the 30th, 89. So not too shabby. There's a few things going on in the old Whip City today. Today, as I mentioned, is Thursday, June 21st. It's the last day of school for public school kids here in the city. Congratulations to all of you. You made it through another year. Remember those days? It was the last day of school. You know, you clean your desks. You really didn't do much. And then, and it's a half day, I believe, too. Right, Pete?
It's been half days for the past 2, I believe.
You know, it's interesting. My youngest daughter graduated high school week and a half ago. We had a little ceremony at the house throwing away the public school calendar. You know, who cares? You don't need that anymore. You know, so anyway, that's today. Today's last day of school. Tonight on the Greens, the first summer concert of the season. Going to be absolutely beautiful down there tonight. Motown Review. Pete, did Bob or the boys talk about what time it starts?
It starts at 7 o'clock.
It starts at 7. Okay,
correct.
So actually,
I believe some the Strawberry Festival, things like that, are open at 6, but the act doesn't go on until 7.
Oh, all right, okay. Because for some reason I thought it was earlier than that. So
I
got my 350 shirt on.
There used to be an opening act, right. And I think the other one is the Kicks Country has 2 acts this year.
Okay. So that's going on tonight. You mentioned the Boys and Girls Club
half marathon on Saturday
this weekend. That's good. What else am I missing?
There's usually an Amelia Park
to kill.
There's usually an Amelia Park Garden concert on Tuesdays,
Tuesday nights.
Tuesday
right?
nights.
Absolutely.
There's Stanley Park on Sundays.
Yeah, right.
So there's all kinds of music going on all over the place. You just gotta look around a little bit.
There's
just,
plenty.
You know.
There's plenty. Taking a quick check of the headlines that you read both in print later today and up online at thewestfieldnews.com. The headline says, Public speaks out on city budget. But again, the apathy of voters here in Westfield, nothing surprising.
Some public shut up
last night.
That means Swenson was cheering because he was probably out of there in an hour.
Yeah, exactly. It's Thursday. That means our weekly Arts Beat column from Mark Auerbach. We had
We went to see On Your Feet on Tuesday.
Oh, I'm looking at the
which
wrong
is the
thing.
Gloria Estefan and Emilio Estevez story.
That's right.
And it was awesome.
I heard it was very, very good.
It was awesome.
So I was looking at the wrong thing. So where are we here? Back to okay. Down in Southwick, it's summertime, obviously. So Southwick officials are reminding you about lake safety. Also, Southwick ran into a shoplifting incident the other day, so they've identified the shoplifters there. And then there's always the local sports. Even though schools end today, Chris Putz is out there running around. He's following Little League. He's following Legion baseball. There's still a few high school teams still in playoffs. And then Lori Zapelic has a story about the Westfield Food Pantry and free vegetable plants being provided by Kelly's Home and Garden over on Springfield Road. And they're looking for the extra produce and to be given to the Westfield Food Pantry. So I've stalled long enough, Pete. It's 6:07. It's 6:07.
Oh, it's summertime. Well,
it is officially summer.
So here's something.
Do you have any bells, whistles, kazoos, anything?
No, you could do all that. You can make your own sound effects. Danny Nason tells us there's an art walk.
Oh, that's right. Art
the
walk
art
tomorrow
walk
night.
on the June 22nd. It'll be the third Friday.
Yep. That's tomorrow night.
Yeah.
I completely forgot about that. That was Art Walk was in yesterday's paper, and then locals in the lot starts next week.
That's why we have the research department. I mean, Danny Nason.
Yeah, exactly. So it is officially summertime in Westfield and actually more than Westfield, the whole area, the whole United States. It's 6:07 was official summertime. So is today the longest day or tomorrow?
Today would be.
I don't know.
No, today would be. It's
so
actually
tomorrow's the official first day of summer.
The first full day of summer.
Full day, right?
Yes.
So
It's probably going to be the longest day for most parents with their kids coming home for the first day of summer.
Exactly.
Yeah, with all that energy.
Yeah. I know. So that's a perfect segue. My guest this morning is Matt Collins. Good morning, Matt. You chimed in perfectly there.
Good morning.
We couldn't have rehearsed that any better.
Yeah, thank you. Good morning.
Matt Collins is, if you had not heard, Matt will be the new principal at St. Mary's High School effective July 1st. Westfield guy, born, raised here, worked in Westfield, worked out of Westfield, a ton of education experience. So, but I don't want to tell everybody about you, Matt. I'm going to ask you. So give us a little bit of background.
Sure. I'm Matt Collins. I grew up here in Westfield. My parents moved here when I was 4 years old, and my brothers and I'm the youngest of 5 boys in my family.
You're the youngest?
I am. I'm the youngest of 5
Shane was
boys.
Younger than you.
Everyone thinks that. I'm beginning to worry. I think it's all the gray hair that I got going on. But yeah, so I'm the youngest of 5 boys, and we all attended St. Mary's School.
All 12 years? Right?
Some of us all 12 years, some of us not. I went through grade 4 and then spent a couple years at Juniper Park before going off to Smith Ave, which is part of the campus where we're at today. Yeah. I went to South Middle, and then I think it was my choice. My parent, when it came to high school time to go to St. Mary's, I think my parents left it up to me, and it was a no-brainer for me to go back to St. Mary's, where I was able to rejoin a lot of the kids I went to elementary school with through 4th grade. I've lived in Westfield my whole life. I've never left. I went to, after graduating from St. Mary's in 1992, I attended AIC in Springfield for my freshman year before transferring over to Westfield State, which was the best move I ever made because I then decided to major in education. Originally, my major was nursing. And that's where I met my wife.
Oh, funny.
She came here from East Brookfield, Mass. Would have been my sophomore year. And we met, and she never left. So she's been here with me, raising our family. We have 5 children, and ranging from the age of 26 down to 6 years old.
Wow. Oh,
yeah,
God bless you.
Yeah. So currently, my oldest son, Drew, he graduated from St. Mary's last year and is off at Emmanuel College now. He decided to pursue Catholic education for college as well.
Good for him.
And is an education and a history major. Loving it, and
he wrapped up his first year.
Yeah, wrapped up his first year. He had a good year. It was tough for him. It was a big adjustment leaving home, and my wife and I were joking. We're like, "Wow, we made home so comfortable." He didn't want to leave, so maybe we have to make it less comfortable for other ones. I don't know.
Right.
And then my middle son Brady starts his freshman year at St. Mary's. coming this fall. And then we have Emerson, who will be in 6th grade, and then PJ, who just finished his first year of kindergarten. It's only year of kindergarten, I hope. And will be going off to 1st grade in the fall.
Very
And my
nice.
wife teaches at St. Mary's, 2nd grade.
Very good. Yeah, for a short time, she was principal at the elementary school, right?
She was.
Yeah.
Principal at elementary school for 2 years, and she
wow,
just
I didn't think
didn't.
it was that long.
Yeah, she just didn't feel it was for her. In her first year as principal, she was diagnosed with cervical cancer, so she underwent some surgeries and treatment for that, and she missed being in the classroom with the kids.
That's all right.
Now she's teaching 2nd grade, and I don't know if I've ever seen her any happier.
Good.
Yeah,
Good for her.
yeah,
Good for
so
you
she
guys.
loves it.
So now, where are you working for the next week and a half?
I'm actually finishing up my next 2 days up at Hampshire Regional. I've been the assistant principal there for 3 years now. Of the middle school. It's a 7 through 12 school.
Gotcha.
And I'm in charge of the middle school. So like my principal there, Kristen Smitty, says, she's like, well, really, you're kind of the principal of the middle school, because she lets me kind of handle things upstairs. And the setup there is one principal for the whole school, and then an assistant for the middle school and the high school.
Oh, nice.
So I'm actually finishing up there tomorrow. I'm going to take a little time. We have a camper up in Maine, up in Wells, Maine. We're going to go up there and spend some time next week.
You guys.
And then hit the ground. I've already kind of hit the ground running at St. Mary's anyways, but
Well,
officially.
you know, you're probably one of the St. Mary's school's biggest cheerleader. I'll give you that.
Thank you.
You know, so it's knowing what you've done for a living, you know, worked your way up to a vice principal, the transition to principal for you has got to be, it's a learning curve, certainly, but because of your involvement with St. Mary's, I mean, how many years did you work there as athletic director? So you know the ins and outs.
I do, and I worked there for about 10 years as the athletic director, and I left there. Well, next year will be my 3rd year not being the athletic director. So I left there because I felt that the athletic director needed to be more of a presence on campus, and me being off campus was getting to the point I didn't feel like I was able to do the job 100%,
right.
And I don't like to do it if I can't do it 100%. Right. With that said, I'm at every game anyways because my kids play,
right.
And you know, anytime Billy, the current athletic director, Billy Lammer, anytime he needed any help or any assistance, I always made sure I was there as a resource for him. We tried to make it work when I was there by bringing in Rob LePage as like a co-athletic director, because he is amazing with the paperwork, and there's so much to that job that involves organization. And I was able to do a lot of concentrating on going to the games or practices or doing the concussion protocols, those types of things. But
now,
it's been
is
good.
Rob still involved in the athletics side or no?
No, Rob is not involved in the athletic stuff. He stepped back as well because he's the music director for St. Mary's, and it got to the point where I don't think he ever got to go home and see his cat.
Well, I mean, and it's funny you say that because a lot of people not in the education business think it's 7 to 3 you're done, but there's so many other extracurricular after school things. You joke about it, but I mean it doesn't have to be St. Mary's. It could be any school. The teachers are putting in more hours than people think they are.
Yeah, for sure. Just this morning on my way in at 5:40 this morning, I got a call from my principal at the school I'm at now to try and call to have a conversation with her before I came on the radio. So making phone calls to parents before 6 a.m. Right. But you do what you got to do because parents, they send their kids to your school and they trust that you have their best interest, at heart. And it's not a 9-to-5 job. It's not a 7 to 3 job. It's you need to do what you need to do when you need to do it.
Right. Now, what's the size difference in student population between where you are now and St. Mary's High School?
So Hampshire Regional, between the middle school and high school, we have about 740 students.
It's that big?
Yeah.
I had no idea.
And the interesting thing is it's kind of small because 300 of them are middle school kids. So the high school is about a little over 400. Yeah. So it's really a small high school comparatively speaking.
Right.
The building is huge and it's a beautiful building. It's kind of majestic, setting up there in the middle of nowhere, and it overlooks the mountains and these beautiful, they have beautiful facilities. And St. Mary's has just under 90 students at the high school level, but I like to think we're a pre-K through 12 school.
Right.
So really, we have about 300 students between from pre-K on up.
It's funny. I didn't think Hampshire was that big.
Yeah.
I never would have guessed that. Oh.
And in being a same age guy yourself, you remember Hampshire, from back in the day,
Okay. Trying to remember what I had for breakfast, Matt, let alone.
Yeah.
That's funny. So it is 6:16. We're going to take our break a little bit early today because we got a lot of stuff to talk about for St. Mary's and for Matt. So 6:16 in the morning, you're listening to the Westfield News Radio Show. It is 57 degrees outside your door. We'll be right back.
Is a bloom shoots up through the stony ground. There's no room, no space to rent in this town. You're out of luck, and the reason that you had to care, the traffic is stuck, and you're not moving anywhere. You thought you found a friend take you out of this place, someone you can lend a hand in return for grace. It's a beautiful day. Sky falls, you feel like it's a beautiful day. To let it get away on the road, but you got no destination in the mind. In the maze of her imagination, your love is down. Even if that doesn't ring true, you've been all over, and it's been all over you. It's a beautiful day. To let it get away. It's a beautiful day. Touch me, take me to that other place. Teach me, I know I'm not a hopeless case. See the world in green and blue. See China right in front of you. See the canyons broken by cloud. See the tuna fleets clearing the sea out. See the bedroom fires at night. See the oil fields at first light. And see the bird with a leaf in her mouth. After the flood, all the colors came out. It was a beautiful day. Don't let it get away. Beautiful day. Touch me. Take me to that other place. Release me. I know I'm not a hopeless case. What you don't have, you don't need it now. What you don't know, you can feel it somehow. What you don't have, you don't need it now. It's a beautiful day.
Support for community radio on WSKB is provided by Betts Plumbing and Heating Supply Company, an independent, family-owned wholesaler serving Westfield for over 50 years, specializing in plumbing, heating, and industrial piping supplies. On the web at bettsplumbing.com or at 14 Coleman Avenue in Westfield.
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by Commercial Distributing Company of Westfield. Now in its third generation of family ownership, Commercial is one of the premier beverage distributors of Western Massachusetts. The Plasek family and the staff of Commercial Distributing wishes you good times throughout the year and urges you to drink responsibly. Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by Wally Computer Associates, one of the largest technology providers in North America. Headquartered in Southwick, Wally provides all of the products and services that you'd expect from a world-class technology partner to schools, colleges, businesses, as well as state and local governments and agencies. Wally Computer Associates, meeting all of your technology needs. On the web at WCA.com. We thank the generosity of our underwriters. For more information, please contact the Westfield State Foundation at 413-572-8646. Friday mornings is something different on 89.5 FM. It's JP's Talk About Town.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB. Live from the campus of Westfield State University. This is 89.5 FM WSKB Westfield.
Live around the world.
You're listening to the Westfield News Radio Show on WSKB 89.5 FM Westfield.
Here's your host, the owner of the Westfield News Group, Patrick Barry.
Good morning again, everybody. 6:22 a.m. Thursday, June 21st, 2018. 57 degrees outside right now, partly cloudy, getting up to a beautiful 85 today. Gorgeous weather set up for tonight's first summer concert on Park Square Green in downtown Westfield. Tomorrow, Friday the 22nd, slightly cooler at 82, and the lows at night are in the mid-50s. Beautiful, beautiful sleeping weather with the windows open. The weekend, some unsettled weather comes in. Saturday's high is barely going to hit 70 if it does. It'll be cloudy and overcast all day. It's about a looks like about an 85% chance of rain late in the day on Saturday. And then Sunday starts out partly sunny, and then clouds and rain roll in Sunday afternoon, high of 83. And then once you get back into the work week next week, the temperatures start out at 77 and sunny on Monday, and by Friday it's 88. So not a bad summer week there. We're live back here at the Tigers Pride restaurant as we have been for a few months.
Empty Tigers Pride.
It is a very empty.
I
know. Well, it's still only 6:20.
No, I'm talking about all the no tables and chairs set up.
I got you.
All the equipment from the kitchen, all the racks up on stage. Yep. They're ready for summer around here.
Absolutely. And today is the last day of school in Westfield. So the restaurant, Tigers Pride restaurant's been closed now for a week, right?
Last week the Friday before was their final buffet.
I don't know if you guys have ever had the chance to come down and have lunch here.
I have.
Yes, well, I used to teach here at Westfield Tech, and I probably gained 15 pounds because Phil Mucciarone used to feed me when they had the restaurant.
Don't say that, because I'm going to be teaching here in the fall apparently.
So
don't tell me that.
Come for the Thanksgiving dinner. You will not.
The Thanksgiving buffet is and then the kitchen sink buffet at the end of the year where they're cleaning out the fridge. Yeah.
Well, here's the thing, and I want to say I don't think I've ever eaten here. And quite frankly, it's because it's 10:45 to noon, right?
That's okay.
No, it's not. That's
you just don't eat breakfast.
I know. That's to me. I usually, if I get to lunch, it's probably not till 1 at the earliest. So, But anyway,
we'll liberate you early next year, Patrick.
There we go. So we are here at Tigers Pride Restaurant today, possibly next week, and then the Thursday shows go back up to campus.
Correct.
For the rest of the summer.
Yep.
And then we'll be back in September, back down here at
we'll be in the studio in September.
Oh,
hopefully.
that's true. We'll be in the new studios.
That's excellent.
Yeah. So we still come in the front door, go down the hall, in, or come in the back?
Just be a little bit further down the hall.
Okay, perfect.
A couple extra doors. I'm on the other side of the culinary kitchen.
Piece of cake. It's 6:24 in the morning. Matt Collins, newly appointed principal for St. Mary's High School, is my guest. Good morning again, Matt.
Morning.
I'd like to say thanks for getting up early, but doing what you do, this is normal, right?
Yeah, I was. I'm gonna my school up here, the current school I'm at right now, Hampshire. Today is the last day there.
Oh, good.
So I'm gonna be a little bit late to work today.
That's all right. That's all right.
But that's okay. They know.
So now, what time do you usually get to campus up there?
I try and get there. I try and get there by 7.
Okay. That's about a 40.
Yeah. It's only about 20. It's only about 20-minute drive from my house, which isn't bad because I live up by the high school and just go up go up past the high school and past the fairgrounds.
Yeah.
But I try and get there around 7. just because I'd like to get settled in before the kids start coming, and on MCAS days, because I was also the MCAS coordinator up there. I was usually there by around 6, just double counting all the boxes and triple counting them and making sure things were ready to go.
Good. Go ahead. So St. Mary's, July 1st, it's a Sunday, so Monday the 2nd will be your first official day there. So So you get hired by, it's a parish school, so the pastor, Father Frank, was the hiring person, right?
Sure. There was a committee.
Okay.
The Kathy Hogan Frigoletti, who is the interim principal, who I worked with at the high school when she was assistant principal at Westfield High School, and Julie Jensen Derrick, who's the principal of the elementary school, and a couple teachers and a student and a parent were on the hiring committee.
Good. Kathy Frigg, amazing woman.
Absolutely.
She just when she retired. I want to say the same year my oldest daughter graduated high school, and it was, my daughter's like, well, thank God, I'm leaving, and so she's leaving too. So it was a little emotional there, but so it's interesting that there was a committee that was part of the hiring process. I would have thought it was primarily, just Father Frank, quite frankly.
So in the hiring process, I've had a couple different, I've been in Westfield and Northampton and now Hampshire and back to Westfield in my career. And each time the committees have been a little different. For instance, the committee, when I got hired at JFK in Florence, there was like 4 people on the committee for that. When I got hired at Hampshire Regional, there was 15, which was great. It was a little intimidating when you walk in the room. So I was interested to see what St. Mary's was going to do. So it was a 6-person committee, and it's really important to have a committee when you're hiring, only because we don't live on an island by ourselves, and I say that a lot in my job as an assistant principal and Will as a principal. You have to get other people involved. You need to catch their ideas, because they may see something you don't.
Right.
Sometimes candidates look really good on paper, and then for whatever reason in an interview it just doesn't work out.
Exactly.
And vice versa. Sometimes at first you're not going to interview them, but you bring them in, and you're like, oh, okay.
Right.
It's pretty good. So
that's good that they had the committee. Now, when was it? I'm drawing a blank. When was it announced?
It feels like eons ago. It was probably about 4 to 5
just
weeks ago.
Just before Memorial Day. Right?
Yes. Okay. Actually, it was just before Memorial Day.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now, but there's a big transition. So we just announced in the Westfield News on Saturday, Father Frank is now leaving.
He is.
So now you come into a situation at St. Mary's. It's no shock to anybody. It's in a tough time right now. But you graduated St. Mary's in '92, and if I recall correctly, kind of the same situation back then that the school is facing now.
The interesting thing, and I've done a lot of thinking back then, because in '92, we had no idea that there was a chance that they were trying to close the school in '93, '94-ish. None of us were privy to that information. So it even caught me by surprise when all of this happened back on March 12th, that they talked about what happened in the early 90s, and I'm like, wow, I was there and didn't know.
But again, you were 17, 18 years old.
Right.
So we had a different perspective on life.
Yeah, totally different. Like, I was leaving, and I think I still would have been as passionate then as I am now, because the school meant that much to me, and so it's been difficult, obviously, the past couple months, but we have some really good things in place and some amazing people and volunteers that have stepped up to kind of help us and push us in this direction, and we've come up with a great recruitment plan, or are coming up with a great recruitment plan, and to get more kids in the seats, and I think the hard thing right now is to let people know that we're here to stay, because it can be scary for some people. And what I tell people is, I just left a very secure job with a nice contract with public school money.
I was going to come to that.
And a nice pension,
right,
because I believe in it so much. And it was a very risky move I made, not just for myself, but for my family. I have, my wife and I still have 4 children at home. But to me, it's worth the risk, and I would do it over and over again.
Good. So now with the tumultuous times that St. Mary's is in now versus '92, how many were in your class when you graduated high school?
26.
So, again, not a huge class. And that was
Yeah.
about half of mine. And I
Yeah.
was, 85?
And for a long time, the classes have been kind of back and forth on size.
Right.
There was a class when I was at St. Mary's that graduated 2 years ahead of me in 1990 that had 50 in it.
Wow.
And then the class right behind them, 13. And then
Really?
our class, 26. And then the class behind me was back up into the 30s. And I think it's always kind of come that way. And the unfortunate thing is St. Mary's has seen that in the past few years. For instance, our incoming senior class next year is I believe it's less than 15. I don't have the exact number. So that number is small. But the junior class is 32 or 33.
Right. I knew there was one class coming up that was
Yeah.
over 30. Right. Okay.
And I'm still working hard to getting that freshman class up to where we need it. Now, they made the announcement on March 12th, and at the time there were 7 or 8, and right now there's 15, and there's like 3 or 4 students that have the paperwork out that either came to the elementary school and are definitely coming to the high school and haven't turned it in. Please get that paperwork in. But I think we're going to be, I'm hopeful we'll be close to 20 when we open up. But we're fine where we are now, too. And we also have some kids that are transferring in at different grade levels.
Good.
So, which is great.
So now, I know when the announcement was made back in the late winter, early spring about keeping the school open, the bishop had said mandatory 20 this year and 30 freshmen each year moving forward.
Yeah.
So what if you don't have 20 this September?
We're open.
It's
we are
open.
open for business, and I know the bishop is. Mark Dupont from the diocese has reached out to me and said, if you need anything, just let me know. Which is very, very.
I find that interesting.
Yes, yeah, so it's great.
The diocese gives off the image that they want nothing more than that school to close. They really do, and I hear it all over town that.
Yeah, and that is the feeling from a lot of people. But in my workings with them since I've been hired, I feel differently, and I think. I think the diocese wants to make sure that we can survive, so they want us to come up with a plan to get the numbers back up to where they are, and they're willing to work with us, which is great. And like I said, I mean, I spoke to Mark Dupont, I've spoken to Sister Andrea, who's the outgoing superintendent. I'm very excited about the new superintendent coming in. They did, and I'm going to forget his name right now.
That's all
They
right.
just announced it the other day. He's the first layperson they've ever hired for the superintendent. He's got 7 children. His wife is pregnant with their 8th, and they live in Connecticut. He's went to Catholic schools his whole life, and his kids go to Catholic school.
Oh, okay. So he gets, even though he's a layperson, he gets Catholic education.
Yeah, he's exciting. And I think, honestly, if we look at Catholic education, if St. Mary's were to close, that's going to leave Pope Francis as the sole school around here for Catholic education. And I truly don't believe the diocese wants that to happen, because that kind of, and I don't want to talk about, and I don't want to bash Pope Francis or anything like that. I think having one choice is not always the option for people, having multiple choices. So you might have 90 kids at St. Mary's that might not choose to go to Pope Francis.
Right.
And if they don't, well, now you've lost 90 kids in Catholic education.
Absolutely.
And I think that would then in turn have a direct effect on our elementary school, which is thriving.
Right.
But as a school, we need to come up with a plan to make sure that our elementary school kids are thriving in elementary, but continue to come and thrive at the high school.
Absolutely.
And so we need a retention plan.
Right. Just make sure you get that transition from 8 to 9.
Correct.
Absolutely. It's interesting. Pope Francis is an interesting story. Because if I recall correctly, their number was 500 students total for the school. No.
I think it was bigger than that. I want to say the new school they built was for
They built it for 700. Yeah.
Right, but 500 is the number that they want to be at. And I think, it was 500. It was a number that they want to be at. And they're still only at, 3?
Yeah, even
They're
with
less than 400.
even with the combined schools, I think it was only about 400.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe last year
372
some of the
maybe?
notes, some of the numbers I saw where they were right around the mid 300s. They were graduating about 115 and only bringing in 42.
Yeah.
So their numbers are down too. So they have some work to do as well.
They
And
got a brand new $55 million high school.
Yes.
That's not full.
Yeah.
That's a tough one.
with a beautiful football field, but they don't have a football team. So I'm guessing they're going to add one.
One would hope. I couldn't get an answer when I asked that question, but we'll come to that later. I couldn't agree with you more, Matt, that, give students options. You know, if there's a Catholic high school on the other side of the river, so be it. But keep one on this side of the river, because as a parent, I wouldn't want to send my kid to Springfield every day. You know, and it's funny because I know some kids. I know the parents of some kids who send their kids to Pope Francis, and I asked them why, and it was because they went there, you know, back when it was Cathedral. And I understand that, but I go, but there's a Catholic school right here in Westfield, you know? But now, how do you get over that hump? Because I think there were 9 kids in Westfield going to Pope Francis, something like that.
7 or 9, I believe.
Yeah.
How do we get over
three in the senior class?
Okay. How do we get over the hump? We tried to get Timmy. Timmy came and spent the day at St. Mary's, and I think he really liked it. And there's a lot of reasons why it happens. You know, St. Mary's is small,
right,
and it's very small. Like, which is part of the attraction, but for some kids, it's one of the reasons why they might not want to come there, because they might not think they have some of the same opportunities.
Right.
You know, we have a 100% graduation rate. We have a 99% four-year kids going off to four-year colleges, and I'm talking like Yale University,
exactly.
all sorts of schools, and even to the point with our athletics, it used to be, you know, Peter, and you can kind of chime in on this as well. With athletics, it used to be kids thought if they didn't go to a high school that offered Division I athletics, they weren't going to have the opportunity to play in college.
That is
so
not
untrue.
the case. Yeah.
You know, and we just played
colleges
against.
are looking for good players,
it
no
doesn't
matter where they
if
come
it's
from.
Division I,
Yeah,
whatever.
I mean, you look at baseball, for instance. If you're a good baseball player, you're a good baseball player. We just played in the Division IV tournament against Morrison from Hopkins, who, as a junior, signed a full boat scholarship to play Division I at URI.
I know.
And he's coming from the smallest public high school in the state.
Right.
So I think it's just St. Mary's it's like a niche school, I would say. And what I encourage kids to do, and we've had some kids do this since I've taken over, because I've been reaching out to some of my friends who have kids going into their freshman year whose children are undecided where they want to go. Get in there, shadow for a day. I will give you a personal tour of the school, see what it's about. You know,
it's like anything, like a job interview. You want to get in,
correct,
see firsthand how it operates, and see the campus, see what it's all about,
right,
before you make your decision.
You know, it's interesting because I did have a kid say to me, he actually is my nephew, and he said to me, Uncle Matt, I will come to St. Mary's, but I don't want to go to church every day. And I looked at him, I said, do you really think we go to church every day? I said, yes, Catholic education is what we are. I said, but as a school, we go to church as a community once a month. Yeah, you will have theology because that's part of our mission and that's part of what we teach. But I'm not sure if people realize that. I think people think if I go to a Catholic school, I have to go to church every day. It's not going to make you a bad person if you go to church every day.
But even theology, when I took it at Cathedral, was more geared towards world religions than just Catholic. They figured,
absolutely.
They figured that was grade school stuff. You learn all the Catholic stuff in grade school. If you're coming, and that gave me an appreciation for world religions that I have now, an understanding of them too.
And I look at theology as if you love history, you will love theology because everything about history
intertwined.
Yes, it is.
It is 6:39 in the morning. You're listening to the Westfield News Radio Show. Matt Collins from St. Mary's is my guest this morning. We're going to take our next break. Thank some of our underwriters. We'll be right back.
Somewhere between a boy and man. She was 17 and she was far from in between. It was summertime in northern Michigan. Splashing through the sandbar, talking by the campfire. It's the simple things in life, like when and where. We didn't have no internet, but man, I never will forget the way the moonlight shined upon her hair. And we were trying different things, and we were smoking funny things, making love out by the lake to as strange as when the leaves began to change. Oh, how we thought those days would never end. Sometimes I hear that song and I'll start to sing along and think, man, I'd love to see that girl again. Man, I'd like to see that girl again. And we were trying different things, and we were smoking funny things, making love out by the lake to our favorite song. Sipping whiskey out the bottle, not thinking about tomorrow, singing Sweet Home Alabama all summer long. We were trying different things, and we were smoking funny things, making love out by the lake to our favorite songs. Sipping whiskey out the bottle, not thinking about tomorrow, singing Sweet Home Alabama all summer long. 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 Singing about Sweet Home Alabama,
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by Westfield Bank. For more than 160 years, Westfield Bank has been an important community presence and commercial leader in the Pioneer Valley. With convenient full banking services in Westfield, West Springfield, East Longmeadow, Agawam, Feeding Hills, Springfield, Southwick, as well as Enfield and Granby, Connecticut, visit us on the web at westfieldbank.org.
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by the Barnes & Noble College Bookstore in the Ely Campus Center, offering Westfield State t-shirts, sweatshirts, and gift merchandise, all of your academic needs, and offering textbook materials in new, used, ebook, and rental formats. Available at the bookstore on campus or online at westfieldstate.bncollege.com. Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by Comcast and Xfinity.com, offering Xfinity TV, Internet, home phone, and home security services. Information on all that Xfinity has to offer in the Westfield area is available online at Xfinity.com.
We thank the generosity of our underwriters. For more information, please contact the Westfield State Foundation at 413-572-8646. Friday mornings is something different on 89.5 FM. It's JP's Talk About Town.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB. Live from the campus of Westfield State University. This is 89.5 FM WSKB Westfield.
Live around the world.
You're listening to the Westfield News Radio Show on WSKB 89.5 FM Westfield.
Here's your host, the owner of the Westfield News Group, Patrick Barry.
Good morning again, everybody. 6:46 a.m., Thursday, June 21st, 2018. We're up to 61 degrees right now, getting even warmer to 85 later today. Absolutely beautiful day. The sun is up. The skies look blue. It's going to be a beautiful one today. Tomorrow, Friday the 22nd, 82. Saturday and Sunday, overcast, some rain. Saturday's going to be cool. Barely 70 degrees on Saturday. Sunday, 83. And then into next week, starts out relatively speaking cool. Monday will be 77, but by the end of the week, it'll be pushing 90. So not too shabby. Just taking a quick rundown of who my guests are over the course of the next few weeks. Next Thursday, June 28th, City Clerk for the City of Westfield, Karen Fannion, is coming back on the show. God love Karen. She's always a wonderful guest. Thursday the 5th, Pete and I are up in the air. We're not sure what we're doing the day after 4th of July. Could be our best of show. We might do a show. I'm leaning towards best of. I've been doing a lot of best ofs this year, Pete. I really got to get out of that habit.
Yes, I know.
But it's just the way things are falling.
I'm trying to. Well, I know Tina's the best of on the 4th, but I'm trying to line up something where we could tape the mayor's show at the Soldiers' Home for July 4th.
Oh, there you go.
So we don't have to, because we all have the parade at Hampton Ponds while the show's going on. So we're going to tape one that week for that day.
Well, part of my problem with Thursday, July 5th is a guest. Who the heck wants to get up at 5 a.m. the day after 4th of July?
Right.
That's my problem.
Yeah, no, I understand that.
Yeah. So it's not me looking to take the day off. I got to think about who my guests are. The following week, Thursday the 12th, the Greater Westfield Chamber of Commerce Pancake Breakfast. We're doing our live show from South Middle School, right?
Yes,
Okay.
we will be there. And then Jay and I are heading up to Cranwell in Lenox to do Capitol Steps. We're taping some shows with the Capitol Steps.
But you're still doing the whole 6 to 10 block from the
Yes,
breakfast, right?
as usual,
Okay,
yep.
Yeah, okay. And then on Thursday, July 19th, I will have my taped show live from the stage of Berkshire Theater Group.
Yep.
So
I'm going to be very busy before I get on the airplane.
yeah, Mark Auerbach and I are going up to Berkshire Theater Group. We started this last year, and I love this show. We go up to Berkshire Theater Group, we go to the Fitzpatrick main stage, and we bring in the directors and actors from some of their summer shows. And we do a round table like this, right in the theater. Pete and I go up, we tape the show. It's awesome to talk to these guys. I mean, they're professional actors. This is what they do for it's really
and some
a
of these
cool
shows
show.
go right from Berkshire to Broadway. So,
Right.
some of them are stagings.
Well, last year we had the one
Children of a Lesser
Children
God.
of a Lesser God. It finished it at the summer in Berkshire Theater Group and went to Broadway.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. And then
Oh, and I need help for the air show. You interested, Matt?
For the what?
Air show, Westover Air Show?
When is it?
July 14th and 15th.
Saturday, Sunday at Westover.
Yeah,
Here comes-
maybe
I'll get
that's
your
not a bad
email.
idea. Yeah.
I'll
Can
get
you
your
hear that,
email.
Pete?
Yeah, you're going to be
It's
gone.
the old Les Nessman. Here comes a helicopter. Ooh, ah. Pete hates when I do. And
just give him the smile.
And then on Thursday, July 26th, Layla Soleimani from the Massachusetts Department of Conservation and Recreation. So she's always a wonderful guest to come on because Layla works with folks who have physical disabilities and getting them to enjoy Massachusetts
She was
parks.
a hoot last
that's
time.
excellent.
Yeah, she's
Her
fantastic.
brother Frank was a cathedral grad.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. So, that's my lineup of guests over the course of the next month or so. But we're live back here at Tiger's Pride Restaurant. Matt Collins is my guest. Good morning again, Matt. Thanks
Good
for joining
morning,
me.
everyone. Thank you. It's good to be here.
So before we went to break, we talked. You threw a kind of a thing out there about your nephew going, but Uncle Matt, I don't want to go to church every day. I think that's a stigma of St. Mary's. I mean, granted, it was different when you and I were growing up, but I think in today's educational society, you have to offer more to students. So while the basis of Catholicism is still there with the school, it's not what you and I remember, growing up. I mean, you take theology class, not Catholic religion class. You have students there that may not be parishioners of the church, that may not even be Catholic.
Yeah.
And actually, the board now has a board member who's not Catholic, but has students in the school, and she and her husband are residents of Westfield, fans of the school, just from the educational aspect. So I think it's your job has got to be tough to get that out there to people.
Yeah, it's important to understand that we have many students and many families at St. Mary's that aren't Catholic. So I think being a faith-based school, you can look at it in multiple ways. Most people have faith in something in life, I would hope, and some people are Catholic, some people aren't. So we do. We teach theology, and we start the morning off with morning prayer. And we are a Catholic-based education, a faith-based education. But you do not have to be Catholic to be at St. Mary's. You do not have to be part of St. Mary's Parish. So we look at St. Mary's, it's called St. Mary's Parish School. And it's important for the public to know, people know that many of our students don't belong to our parish. They belong to other parishes. And with those other parishes who have really gotten behind us and been part of, let's figure out a way to make sure that this works, they offer support for their parishioners to come to our school. And
it's in
as
their
they
best
do.
interest, yeah.
It is in their best interest. And even to the point where there are some parishes and priests that are going to allow us to come into their community, whether it's speaking at the end of a family mass or if it's setting up an area outside so we can talk to people when they come out of mass, not to bombard them, but just to give them some
Educate them.
information about about who we are and what we do.
Right. You know, one of your battles coming in is, to your point, is convincing people we're opening in September.
Yes.
You know, we plan on opening next September, and the September after that, and the September and so forth down the line. You know, and as if you're having a conversation with a parent of a 7th or 8th grader, you know, their hesitation must be, okay, yeah, I'll go there, you know, this fall, but what about next year? You know, but you've got to get, you know, not only are you a principal, you're a salesman. You got to make sure people understand that the school's going to be here for a while.
Yeah, and I think what's happened is people have hit the panic button, and rightfully so. Okay, so they panicked when the announcement was made, and it took us a couple of weeks, but we got a force behind us to show people that we can do this and that we will be here to stay. And we were given the green light by the diocese. It's very... It's interesting because when they release the information about the 1 year and the $300,000, it's very deceiving. Nowhere in that letter did it say you will close after 1 year if you don't have this or if you don't have that. I look at it as this is a challenge to this is where we need to get and this is where they want us. So okay, you give us a number and you tell us what we need to do.
Right.
Okay, we're going to go do it. So I think that's important, but people did hit the panic button, and we do have people worrying about that, you know. But Father Frank, it's interesting because I was at the graduation at Hampshire Regional, which was the same night as St. Mary's. So I was at graduation at Hampshire Regional, and my phone buzzed in my pocket, which I probably should have had off, but you know I had it on silent and vibrate. So after the graduation is over, I took my phone out and I looked at the picture, and Father Frank had sent me a picture of a banner he put up on the church as the students were walking in for their graduation at St. Mary's, and it's still up there, and it says class of 2018, and on the bottom it says ... not the last class, and it's not the last class, and I want that banner up with every year.
Keep it going, right?
You know, remember you had mentioned earlier. I think we talked about the early 90s when there was the possibility of St. Mary's closing back then. Well, now we're in 2018.
Right.
So what they did back then worked, and we're in 2018.
Later, absolutely.
You know, and that's what I have in my head of that's what we can do. You know, we have some strong staff. There are, you know, we have every kid's got a schedule, and we're ordering books, and they're ordering uniforms, and we're ready to go.
Now, one of the things I think that parents of prospective students need to understand is, and I'll go back to my time at St. Mary's. I was the youngest of 4 in my family. There was no question where I was going. I mean, and I fought my parents tooth and nail because I wanted to go to Westfield High School.
Yes.
You know, I'd spent 8 years at St. Mary's. My siblings spent 12 years. All 3 of them spent 12 years. I wanted something different. And my parents, no, it wasn't even a discussion, right? So, and again, the parents knew better than the kids do. And I thank God I went to St. Mary's because the smaller classroom, I wasn't a great student growing up. I admit that freely. But being in a smaller classroom helped me. Because if I had gone to Westfield High School, I would have been a number. I would have been lost. Only God knows what my life would have changed or would have turned into if I had not been in a smaller classroom. So parents of prospective students, you have to look at that. You know, if you have a student that's, you know, needs a little help, I think St. Mary's is the perfect destination. You know, and again, I look back to our time at St. Mary's, even athletes, you know, we may have been good athletes, but if we went to the high school, you'd have been sitting the bench all the time, you know, and yet you go to St. Mary's, you're going to play.
Correct. So, for instance, I can throw one student out there, and he just graduated, and the parents wouldn't mind me throwing out his name. So, for instance, Matt Mascadrelli, who just graduated, started playing on the varsity baseball team at St. Mary's as an 8th grader. And as an 8th grader, he led all of Western Mass, all divisions in batting that year. It didn't, you know, Division 1, 2, and 3. Well, he played like 120 or 122 varsity baseball games in his career.
Wow.
So, at some of the larger schools, you may not see the varsity field until your junior year,
right.
Which means you might get 40 games on the diamond. So that's a big, for me, that's a big attraction as well, because you know you might not be the best athlete, if we're talking sports, you might not be the best athlete, but at St. Mary's you have an opportunity to play, and some kids become better as they get older.
And it keeps kids out of trouble. If they're active, again, you look at, take me for an example, Matt Mascadrelli, you send that kid to a larger high school like Westfield High School, you might not play. So then you get into other things. You end up with a different path in life. So
sometimes you get really lost in a big school like that.
Oh,
That's
absolutely.
why, Timmy thought St. Mary's was too small and Westfield High was too big, and Pope Francis was
Fit
just
right in
right.
the middle. Yeah.
At that time, Cathedral.
Right, and you have to find where you fit.
Exactly.
And the residents of Westfield, St. Mary's is kind of a regional school, really, because we take kids from all different towns.
Sure.
Because they're tuition-based in. And Westfield's got 3 amazing opportunities for education for high school, actually for secondary education. And you come to Westfield Voc, kids come to Westfield Technical Academy because they want to learn a trade, and they want to that's what they want to do, and that's the niche here. Right. And you really can't compete with that, because if a student wants to be a plumber, then they need to go somewhere where they're going to learn that trade. And same thing at Westfield High School. Kids go to Westfield High School for the reason they want to go to Westfield High School. And I worry sometimes, and that's where we need to change the image, is people look at St. Mary's and they might say, oh, it's too small, or we got to go down there, we got to go to church every day, and
right.
No, you have to come down there, and you're going to learn faith. Right. And you're going to learn about Catholic religion, but you're also going to learn about other religions and how they've impacted the world today, which to me is history.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
So. And it's interesting because, you think back, some of my closest friends today at age 50 are the kids I grew up with at St. Mary's.
Yes.
And my daughters who went through public schools, they don't really have those close friend relationships that I have. That I had and still have.
To this day.
Because there's just so many freaking kids. You can't. It's hard to have those one-on-one good personal friendship relationships.
I hear friends of mine talk about their high school reunion. Yeah. And I was friends with everybody in high school. I had a lot of friends obviously at St. Mary's because it was small, but a lot of my friends were at Westfield High and Voc. If you remember back in the days when it was Tar Beach down there by McDonald's, and St. Mary's had one plot, Westfield High had another, and Westfield Voc at the time had another, but we all intermingled. But so people talk about their reunions, and they're like, wow, I ran into some people I didn't even know I went to high school with. That doesn't happen at St. Mary's because you know everybody.
Right. Well, that's happening at my 30th Cathedral reunion. There was 500 kids we graduated at that time, and it was like, I don't know two-thirds of my class.
Yeah. You could actually be working with someone in your career for years and then find out, we went to the same high school. What do you mean we graduated from the same class?
Right.
And that's the piece. That's that piece that I hold on to at St. Mary's, because I'm still close friends with people I went to kindergarten with. Eric Hall.
Yeah.
We went to kindergarten together.
I won't hold that against you.
Yeah, right. Sorry, Eric.
So it's more like a family.
It is. It's like a family.
Yeah.
And, there was a tragedy happened to my very best friend and his family when I was at St. Mary's. And I still remember that day sitting out in my car because he didn't have his license. So I'm sitting out in my car waiting to get the soccer practice. And I knew that if we didn't get there, Coach Jim Casey was going to make us run 2 times around Stanley Park. And I was not a runner. I was not, if you find me running, it's because someone's chasing me. So I'm sitting there, where is he? Where is he? Where is he? So he comes out the school, and he has this look on his face, and he kind of just collapsed right there in the parking lot because his brother had passed, and it was just. And do you know that all sports were canceled that day, practice-wise, and when we showed up at his house, because he had to ride home with me, the entire school was at his house. And back then it was 150 kids. And they were just there as support. They were just there to be there.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's just, I have goosebumps right now thinking about it because I remember that day so well because of the support that we had from our friends at school.
That's the kind of network you have at
a
small school. It is 7:01 a.m. You're listening to the Westfield News Radio Show. Matt Collins is my guest this morning. We're going to take our top of the hour break, and we'll be right back.
sky when the weather's fine. You got women on your mind. Have a drink, have a drive, go out and see what you can find. If a daddy's rich, take her out for a meal. If a daddy's poor, just do what you feel. Speed along the lane, you can dine or a turn of 25. When the sun goes down, you can make it good and live by. We're not great people, we're not dirty, we're not mean. We love everybody, but we do as we please. When the weather's fine, we go fishing or go swimming in the sea. We're always happy, life's for living, yeah, that's our philosophy. Sing along with us, dee-dee-dee-dee-dee, da-da-da-da-da, yeah, we're happy. Da-da-da, dee-da-da-dee-da-da-da-da-da. Da-da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da-da-da. All right, when the winter's here, yeah, it's party time. Bring a bottle, wagon back, 'cause it'll soon be summertime. And we'll sing again, we go driving, or maybe we'll settle down. If she's rich, if she's nice, bring your friends and we'll all go into town. In the summertime, when the weather is high, you can stretch right up and touch the sky. When the weather's fine, you got women on your mind. Have a drink, have a drive, go out and see what you can find. If a daddy's rich, take her out for a meal. If a daddy's poor, just do what you feel. Speed along the lane, you can dine or a turn of 25. When the sun goes down, you can make it good and live by. We're not great people, we're not dirty, we're not mean. We love everybody, but we do as we please. When the weather's fine, we go fishing or go swimming in the sea. We're always happy, life's for living, yeah, that's our philosophy. Sing along with us, dee-dee-dee-dee-dee, da-da-da-da-da, yeah, we're happy.
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by Bay State Dental. Comprehensive dentistry at 14 convenient locations in Springfield, Chicopee, Longmeadow, West Springfield, Belchertown, East Longmeadow, Ludlow, Northampton, Greenfield, and Wilbraham, as well as 29 Broad Street in Westfield. Bay State Dental makes it a priority to help you achieve and maintain the healthy smile you deserve. On the web at baystatedental.com.
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by Bay State Dental. Comprehensive dentistry at 14 convenient locations in Springfield, Chicopee, Longmeadow, West Springfield, Belchertown, East Longmeadow, Ludlow, Northampton, Greenfield, and Wilbraham, as well as 29 Broad Street in Westfield. Bay State Dental makes it a priority to help you achieve and maintain the healthy smile you deserve. Visit on the web at baystatedental.com.
He rules the roost on Thursday from 6 till 10. It's Patrick Berry.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
Live from the campus of Westfield State University. This is 89.5 FM, WSKB, Westfield.
Live around the world.
You're listening to the Westfield News Radio Show on WSKB 89.5 FM Westfield.
Here's your host, the owner of the Westfield News Group, Patrick Berry.
morning, Westfield, 7:07 a.m., Thursday, June 21st, 2018, 64 degrees out right now, getting up to 85 today. Absolutely beautiful day today. Tomorrow, Friday the 22nd, a little cooler, 81 degrees, and then some unsettled weather for the weekend. Saturday, the high is barely 70. Cloudy all day Saturday, some late day storms and showers. Sunday the 24th, 83 degrees. It'll start out nice, and then some thunder boomers later in the day. And then next week, back into the nice weather, of course. It's back to work. 77 and sunny on Monday, and then progressively warmer as the week goes on. By the end of next week, we'll be at 90. So that's the forecast. Taking a quick check of the headlines that you'll read both in print later today and up online at thewestfieldnews.com. A couple of stories coming out of Southwick. Today is the first day of summer, so Southwick officials are reminding folks if you're heading out on Congamon to be safe. Got a detail of some things on how to remain safe on the lakes. Also out of Southwick, the police department has identified a couple of shoplifting suspects. Red Bull. Stole cases of Red Bull. I don't get it.
Yeah.
But apparently...
I don't think that's really worth it, right?
Yeah, apparently it is. I guess it's got a good...
It's only about $1 a can.
No, not Red Bull. Red Bull's
it's more expensive?
Yeah,
Red Bull's like $4 a can.
I don't think it's worth having a criminal record over, though.
Exactly. I'm with you.
Didn't some of their guys get exposed to fentanyl a couple days ago or something like that?
Yeah, a couple of cops in Southwick went to a possible drug overdose. And it was in the air.
Yeah,
and all of a sudden, after a few minutes,
Yeah.
they started having
getting
respiratory
goofy,
issues.
They had to administer Narcan, right?
Exactly. Yeah, that's frightening.
Narcan and transport.
Yeah, that's kind of scary.
bad stuff, man.
Yeah.
So Kelly's Home and Garden over on Springfield Road is working with the Westfield Food Pantry about donating. Go to Kelly's, get some free vegetable plants, donate the crops to the food pantry, help out your neighbors here in Westfield. That's always a great
not
story.
to cut in on you, but boy, they really do reach out and help out the community. They did a lot of work behind helping the St. Mary's.
Oh, absolutely.
Cause.
Yeah, Brian and Stacy Kelly.
Great.
Cute. They have their son. Is it graduated or is still in
I
high
think
school?
he's going to be a senior next year, but they have been. They really do. They reach out and help the community out.
Absolutely. Also, last night was the public hearing on the city budget. So you can read about the crowd jumping in and speaking out there. Crowd in quotes sarcastically. So let's see. That's
no comment.
Yeah, exactly. And then even though today's the last day of school, there's still plenty of local sports going on. So some of our little high school teams are still in playoffs. But even still, you've got Little League, you've got Babe Ruth, you've got Legion baseball. So there's a lot going on. Unfortunately for my sports editor, Chris, it never ends. So he tries.
He is a busy man.
Yeah, he tried, and it's interesting because, as you know, you've worked with Chris for years. He's a one-guy sports department.
Yes.
So we've got 5 high schools in our coverage area. And each high school has boys and girls sports, 3 seasons a year. Chris was telling me earlier this season, because we had a very wet in April, a lot of games got canceled and moved and postponed and whatever. He said on one day, there were 19 different games.
Oh, yeah, that doesn't surprise me, yeah.
He goes, it was the worst. He goes, normally there's about a dozen games a day, normally. But that one particular day, it was 19 games in one day. He said it was absolutely crazy.
Yeah, and the interesting thing is you always hear people, and it's really unfair to Chris. So I've known Chris for a while now, so I'm going to give him a little bit of a plug here.
He's not up at this hour.
The unfair thing is people are like, well, I can't believe the paper wasn't here. He can't be everywhere, so he's got to give his fair share to all the local schools.
Oh, yeah. I lucked out a couple years ago. I had one photographer on staff who left, and then I was able to pick up 3 part-timers. That has helped sports, specifically, tremendously. So now, I've got 3 part-time photographers and Chris who shoots photos, so we're able to cover 4 events at least. And what I usually do is send my photographers and Chris, they cover multiple games a day.
Yep.
So we're able to cover multiple games. It's such a better setup now than it has ever been. Thank God for that. Because, as you said,
the sports coverage has been really good.
Thank you. So that voice you hear is Matt Collins. He is the new principal at St. Mary's High School, effective Sunday, July 1st, but it's a Sunday, so you'll be working on Tuesday, July 2nd. So congratulations to you, Matthew.
Thank you.
One thing that St. Mary's is that the other 2 high schools in Westfield and other 2 high schools in our coverage area are not, and that is tuition-based.
Yes.
So it is not a free high school. It is a tuition-based school, so it's tuition-based from the pre-K right through
Correct.
the senior in high school. Why would somebody pay to go to school, Matt, versus take advantage of free public education?
That's a good question. That's kind of a trick question. Not really a trick question. I don't mean to sound like that, but I don't know how to answer that. I think it comes down to what you feel is in the best interest of your child. And a tuition-based school, for some people, can scare them off because they worry a little bit about the cost. And yes, there is a cost to it, but there's ways to offset the cost of that. We have some new financial assistance programs through the school, and also through the diocese. There are some financial opportunities through them as well. So what I'd say is, I don't know how to answer that question. Why would you choose to tuition your child in? Because you are still paying the taxes to send your child to a public school that they don't go to.
Right. I think it's. I think parents now, I think more so than ever, are more invested in their kids' education, and I look at it as, if, as we talked about before the break, if you have a student who needs the one-on-one attention, St. Mary's is certainly the option, the better option than the public schools. I hate to say it, but you'll get that one-on-one attention. You'll get a better path. Pete, there goes the bell. We weren't preparing for that.
Don't worry, just go through it.
That would be the last morning bell for school today.
Yeah.
It's funny, Matt, because when we first started doing the show here back in the end of February, beginning of March, I completely forgot about the 7:15 bell, right? And that's exactly what happened. All of a sudden, and the tables were here, and there were students in here. They stood up to do the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. And we're still going on with the radio show. Ever since then, I always made it a point to break at about 7:18, 7:19, so we could do that. And we may have to do that again. But I'm thinking today's the last day of school. Why would they do the bell?
Right.
But of course, there's still school.
Yes, still school.
Anyway, getting back to my point, so I think for tuition, your parents want the best for their students. So I think parents. I mean, and it's nominal. It's. I mean, in the overall scheme of things, it's really not much. It's
not. And you look at, I kind of compare it to. Most families, not all families, but most families have, parents that work. It might be both parents that work, might be one parent that works, and some people are fortunate enough where they don't have to. Sometimes I wish I was one of those, but I'm not. And you think about it, when you have children, when they're born, you have to figure out where, if you're going to go back to work, where are you going to send them to daycare? And in the scheme of things, daycare is a lot more expensive than it is to come to St. Mary's High School or St. Mary's Elementary School or St. Mary's Preschool. The cost is better at our place than it is to send your child to daycare.
And as you mentioned, there's financial aid options to help offset the cost.
Yeah, so the financial aid options that they have is if you're Catholic. So this is the only piece I would have to say. If you're Catholic, you can apply for what they call FACTS financial aid, and that's what's through the diocese. So there's a stipulation to receive that would be to be Catholic, because some of that it's parish based, and you get financial assistance through that. But St. Mary's, we are setting up. It's set up now for incoming students and for future students. We've set up our own financial aid program where some of the money that we've raised recently in some of our big fundraisers, we've raised over $100,000 since March in two major fundraisers, and $78,000 at the auction, and it looks like between $18,000 and $20,000 at the golf tournament, which we had 2 weeks ago. But so there's being some seed money put into a financial package where students can apply to a 3-person committee to receive financial assistance to come to the school, and they would then speak with the committee, and then money can be dispersed. And then on top of that, we're starting a sponsor a student program. I spoke with the board about it last week at my first board meeting, and as well as I spoke with Father Frank about it and Sister Andrea. So we're going to do a sponsor a student program where we can reach out to the alumni, where they can either they can either sponsor a student specifically, and if they do, I think if you pick a certain student, like you say, I want this to go to Joe, that might have some implications on whether or not that would be tax deductible. But if we have to look into that. But if you say, I want to sponsor a student here, let's put this into the sponsor a student fund,
Right.
then that money is going to be earmarked and specifically for tuition assistance for families that might not be able to afford that money.
Right.
So there are ways to do this. So that's
kind of a neat idea.
it's really a cool idea, and I got it from Sister Andrea, who had been researching other Catholic schools throughout the country that do a similar program. So I reached out to some of our volunteers and said, "This is what I want to do. Can you create something for me?" That's what's nice to have volunteers because they have the resources.
Right.
And volunteers are free, which is great. So that's something that we are doing now because we do have alumni and we do have people in the community that want to donate and they want to.
But they want to make
it
sure
affordable.
the money goes
Correct.
towards the proper thing.
Correct.
Absolutely, yeah. It is 7:18. Pete, let's take a break so we're able to tie in the Pledge of Allegiance and everything. So we're going to take a break right now. Thanks some of our underwriters and wait for school announcements. We'll be right back.
for the community programming of WSKB is provided by Commercial Distributing Company of Westfield. Now in its third generation of family ownership, Commercial is one of the premier beverage distributors of Western Massachusetts. The Plasek family and the staff of Commercial Distributing wishes you good times throughout the year and urges you to drink responsibly. Underwriting for community radio is provided by the YMCA of Greater Westfield. Every day, the YMCA strengthens the community through programs and services focused on youth development, healthy living, and social responsibility. For all the Y's many programs and services, visit us on the web at www.westfieldymca.org. The YMCA, 67 Court Street in downtown Westfield. We're more than a gym. We're a cause.
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by Comcast and Xfinity.com, offering Xfinity TV, Internet, home phone, and home security services. Information on all that Xfinity has to offer in the Westfield area is available online at Xfinity.com.
We thank the generosity of our underwriters. For more information, please contact the Westfield State Foundation at 413-572-8646.
He rules the roost on Thursday from 6 till 10. It's Patrick Berry.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
Live from the campus of Westfield State University. This is 89.5 FM, WSKB, Westfield.
Live around the world.
You're listening to the Westfield News Radio Show on WSKB 89.5 FM Westfield.
Here's your host, the owner of the Westfield News Group, Patrick Berry.
Good morning again, everybody. 7:25 a.m. Thursday, June 21st, 2018. Last day of school in Westfield. Beautiful concert on the green tonight. Starting our day right now.
Some of you might be able to get to see it. I won't.
Well, oh, you're
City Council agenda is like 5 pages.
Yeah.
Ooh, big agenda tonight.
I know.
Yeah.
So 66 degrees right now outside, getting up to 84 today. Going to be beautiful. Humidity is currently at 79%, dew point 59%, great visibility at 10 miles. Let's see. Sunrise today, 5:15 a.m., sunset 8:30. God, I love that.
Wow,
That
I love
is
that too.
absolutely fantastic. And no, zero, nada as far as hurricane and tropical cyclone warnings, Pete. So we're good.
That's not a
there.
bad thing. Yeah, you're
No?
good.
And
It's early in the
we're-
season.
We're in
that's,
June.
That's good. Did I see, speaking of weather, did a tornado touch down in Belchertown the other day?
That's what they were saying, yes.
Oh, I didn't. I
saw
heard
a picture.
funnel cloud was seen.
Yeah, I
but
saw
don't
a
know if it
picture
ever
online.
touched
Oh,
down.
I wonder.
Yeah.
I saw the funnel cloud. I don't know if
Or
it
go look
ever
on the
touched
National
down.
Weather
Yeah.
Service site and see if they
Yeah,
confirm that.
yeah, I forget. One of the TV stations had a video of it in the air, but I don't know if it ever hit the ground.
I mean, whenever June 1st rolls around,
I know.
you get nervous now.
Absolutely. It's
Yeah,
frightening.
it'll never happen here.
No,
Oh, it
never.
happened.
Yes.
When Matt Medeiros calls you and says, my gazebo just shot 30 feet straight in the air, I said,
Yeah.
we had a tornado.
Yeah, that's not
funny.
good.
That's
Yeah.
funny. So we're live here at the Tiger's Pride Restaurant at Westfield Technical Academy. Matt Collins, newly appointed principal of St. Mary's High School, is my guest. Good morning again, Matt.
Morning.
So we've been at it an hour and a half. Time flies.
I know. I just looked at the clock. I can't believe it.
It's funny. My guests, whenever I get, especially my new guests, like, what the heck are we going to talk about for 2 hours? I go, trust me, time flies. So thanks for joining me. I appreciate it. There's a lot going on at St. Mary's. St. Mary's has, for good or bad, been in the headlines of the Westfield News going on about 4 months now. Back in, was it February, late February, early March? I forget the exact timing.
Unfortunately, I remember the exact date, March 12th.
March 12th,
Yeah.
it was announced that St. Mary's would be closing at the end of this current school year. Yourself championed a group of parents and volunteers and students and said, we will not let this happen. As of today, June 21st, St. Mary's remains open to your efforts. Congratulations to you and everyone else. St. Mary's plans to remain open for years to come, but not without work.
Yes.
It's going to come with a lot of hard work, and it's not just fundraising that's going to take place. You need bodies. You need pupils in
Correct.
the pupils in the seats every school year. So part of the diocese plan to keep St. Mary's open was 20 freshmen this year, 30 each succeeding year. Where does St. Mary's High School stand on hitting those numbers as of today?
So hitting the 20 this year, we're either going to just hit it or just miss it, because that 20 new students is not just 20 freshmen. We do have a couple transfer students in at the higher grades. One's coming in as a junior. We have an international student coming in from China, and then we have 15 right now that are confirmed in for the freshman year, and we have at least 3 applications out from students who just have to turn the paperwork in.
Okay.
So as far as the 20
You're
goes,
looking
we're
at about
either
18 or 19 freshmen, and then a couple other transfers in.
Which is good. And then as far as the 30 goes, for the next year and the years after that, we have work to do. We have a strong recruitment committee now, and we're in the process of solidifying our advancement directors things and our business manager. We are putting together an ad campaign moving forward. We're going to utilize the Westfield News to put some ads in. I'm excited because we spoke, I believe, with Flo Mascadrelli about I would like to do a principal's corner within the Westfield newspaper, and thank you for letting us do that, because I think our biggest asset is word of mouth, and we're going to be out in the community. We have some big plans coming up. We're going to be putting up an easy pop-up tent with our logos on it, with some information and some things for some of the concert series. We won't have it for tonight, but I'm going to the concert. I'm going to be out there anyways.
Yeah. Or your St. Mary's shirt on.
Yeah, and we need to be visible, and we were visible, and I can't thank the community of Westfield enough during our, I have to say, our resurgence of kind of letting people know that, wow, we're here and we're not going anywhere. We had so much community support. We had support from the politicians that we spoke at City Council. Yep. They showed up some of our events. We had support from Don Humison and John Vilas, obviously from the Westfield News. So I think what happens is, and Father Frank said it perfectly. He said we've woken a sleeping giant, and we have. Yeah. And to have that backing, and it's really good.
It's funny. Father Frank's comment was perfect. It hit the nail on the head, because if you think about St. Mary's, it's a small, quiet group, but very active, very vocal if need be, and the last few months has certainly shown that.
Yeah, when you and I were in school, don't you remember they used to talk about us being the mighty, mighty saints?
Oh, absolutely.
And I think we showed that, right?
It's totally off track for a second. So a couple of years ago, the Caseys, Karen and Jimmy, they put together an all-class reunion of the Sons of Aaron, and toward the end of it, Jimmy got up and he sang the school song.
Yeah.
And I looked at my classmates. I had never heard that song in my life.
Really? Because I know it word for word. I was singing at class night this year. People are looking at me like, you know that song? Like, of course I do.
And it was funny because, that just sort of shows the investment to that school that the alumni have. You got, and I thought that was a brilliant idea for the Caseys to have an all-class reunion, not just the 5 or the 0 years coming in, and
you're right.
It was like everybody.
And doesn't that speak volumes of it doesn't matter what year you graduated, you're a saint, and come on down, and let's just have a get together.
And I think you were there that night. It was back and forth between Connie Lane and Jack Leary.
Yeah.
Who was the oldest class? And I don't remember who it was.
Okay. Yeah.
And then it was, because that was in the 50s, I think. Mm-hmm. And then there was a kid who had just graduated maybe that prior June.
Yeah.
So it was, and everybody in between. So it was really, it's a small community, but a vocal community in a very a very important community if something goes to happen to that school.
I keep going back to family.
Yeah, absolutely. I got a text message about a month ago from Matt Van Hannigan, former city councilor, and he said, I'm at a conference I don't know where he was. It was maybe in the Boston area. So I'm at a conference, and to the left of me is a St. Mary's grad. To the right of me is a St. Mary's grad. They want to know if I can give them your contact information because they're alum and they want to do what they can do to help the school.
Perfect.
And, again, you get chills because it doesn't matter where you go, you're going to find one of us.
Right.
So that's pretty cool.
And again, we're, I don't know about your classmates. The one thing I like about Facebook is being able to keep in touch with family and friends, aside from all the other garbage on it.
Yes.
I have classmates, Seattle, Kansas City. I've got one guy in Sri Lanka.
Yeah.
They're all over the planet doing good things, and it's kind of, it's kind of nice.
It is, and it's interesting that you bring that up because people say that. They say, well, you can get that with any school. I understand that, right? But the difference is you know them, and you know where they are, and you know what they do.
Yep.
And yes, you could get that anywhere, but you could also be sitting next to someone for 10 years and not even know you went to high school with them.
Exactly.
Because there were 500 kids in your graduating class.
You and I can probably say the same thing. Is I was one of 50 kids in my graduating class. I had 49 other families.
Yeah.
I had 49 other sets of parents, 49 other brothers and sisters, plus theirs. You knew everybody,
yes.
Which can be good and bad.
Right.
One of my classmates' father wouldn't think twice about Barry. Knock it off. But that's the way it works.
You didn't get away with much.
And to Pete's point, it was a family. And that helps the education process. So as a parent thinking about sending their kids to St. Mary's, whether it's a freshman in the fall, next year, pre-K, whatever. That's the sort of environment you go into. So when we come back to the tuition question, it really becomes, investing in your child's future.
Correct.
It's not just those 13 years from pre-K or 14 years from pre-K to graduation. It's really the remaining 80 years, 70 years, God willing, how long they live.
Correct.
So it's a really cool little environment. The question I did want to ask you, Matt, was curriculum.
Yes.
There's some question about whether St. Mary's, because it's not a public school, whether they offer the same types of programs that you're going to get at Westfield High School.
Sure, we do. We offer AP classes, we offer honors classes, we offer virtual high school classes. The class sizes are smaller, but they're there. So there was, for instance, I'm trying to think. There's a very specific AP class that a student's taking this year that I was blown away with when I was sitting down doing the schedule with Kathy Hogan Frigoletti, because it's even one of those classes like, wow, I'm in the public school. I haven't heard of that. Wow. So that's good to be able to offer it. Westfield High School offers forensics. So doesn't St. Mary's.
Oh, that's cool.
Westfield High School offers chemistry AP. So doesn't St. Mary's. So we do offer a very robust curriculum and class offerings. And on top of that, we don't spend 14 to 19 days testing for MCAS because our students do not have to take MCAS tests. Right. And being a father of a student who graduated in 2017 who goes to Emmanuel College in Boston, they never asked if he took MCAS, and they really don't. It doesn't matter to them that they took MCAS or not. It's a state requirement, and to graduate from a public high school in the state of Massachusetts, you have to pass MCAS at a certain level.
But it's not. Yeah. It's not a requirement by a college, right?
It's not a requirement by a college. No.
So, really, it doesn't matter whether you. It's a state requirement to graduate public schools, but it's not a graduation requirement.
Correct.
So if you're applying to whether it's Emmanuel, Westfield State, Winnick, it doesn't matter.
So here's the
right?
deal: it is a graduation requirement for public high schools. Like, in order to receive a public high school diploma, you have to meet local standards and pass the MCAS, which is the state standardized test. At St. Mary's, you meet the requirements of the school, which are outlined by we're accredited just like any other high school through NEASC. But you don't have to take the standardized test. You don't have to take MCAS. And for me, as a parent who has children my kids are smart. They're way smarter than I ever was. But they're not always good test takers. And to have my child's high school education on the line based on one test,
it's just awful.
To me, it just doesn't feel right. So to me, as a parent, that is one of the big draws to our school as well. And I have to throw that
More
out
time.
there. And I'm not dissing MCAS or anything like that, but there's a lot of days spent on testing. There's a lot of time spent on assuring that students are exposed to the curriculum and master the curriculum that is tested on the test.
Right. Now, I remember when I was going to St. Mary's, I want to say all 12 years, the school start time was always the same.
Yes.
Is it still that way?
It is. We start the same as public schools.
Now, but I remember the high school, Westfield High School kids going to school probably 45 minutes before me.
Oh, you mean the day when the day starts?
Right, yeah.
I think Westfield High probably starts their day earlier, their first
7:19
period.
or something
Yeah,
like
so
that,
St.
the first
Mary's
bell.
starts around 7:45 or 7:47, something like that, and they get out at 2:15 or 2:19. Sorry, and Westfield High, I believe, gets out at 2:05. So there's like
so
a 14 or 15 minute swing.
So, but St. Mary's kids, even though it's a private school here in Westfield, they can take Westfield public transportation.
Yeah, St. Mary's kids take Westfield public transportation. Also, if a student is a Westfield resident who happens to have an IEP, an individualized education program, they can still get the services through the Westfield public school.
Oh,
so St. Mary's doesn't necessarily offer special education, but they do honor the IEP by the parent. Sometimes the parent has to get the child to those services, whether or not it's a speech and language or something along those lines, where they would have to take their child there. There's also, I know that the school has reached out to and I always say his last name wrong, so I'm going to say the Westfield superintendent, Stefan. Okay. And I always say his last name wrong.
Zaporowski.
Zaporowski. Okay, sorry about that, Stefan. I know that we'll be working with him because from what I hear in the past, there's been instances where those service providers could go to St. Mary's and provide some services, some of those speech and language or whatever. So I'm not saying that that's in stone, but it is something that we would look at trying to do.
Right. There's always been sort of, a good partnership between St. Mary's and Westfield Public Schools, but I think in today's age, that partnership is becoming more, it's better, but becoming more diverse just because of student needs, teacher needs, community needs.
Yeah.
And you taking the helm at St. Mary's and Stefana already at Westfield Public Schools, I think will only make that partnership even better.
I think so. And you know what? It's all about communication.
Yeah, that's it.
It's
and
all
luckily
about
for you,
not
you
being,
don't have to cancel school on a bad weather day. Let him do it.
Yes, he gets to make the decision. So
You're the good guy. Yeah.
Once
Don't
again, I
start
want to
with
thank
that.
you for doing that.
He sweats that every single
Yes,
time. man.
I hear that is the one piece of being a superintendent.
never
that
wanna be a
nobody-
superintendent.
Yeah, because you're doing it at like 3 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, I know. You can do great 360 days of the
Yes.
year, but those 5 days where you question the snow,
Yeah,
you
and
can't
sometimes
win.
the public doesn't get it. Like
And it's not always his
You have to
decision
make
either.
this
Right.
decision because you want to keep kids safe. So, and the weather is not an exact science. So you might cancel school and a snowflake might not fall. But
Yeah.
you know what? The weather said it was going to.
Exactly.
And we want to keep the kids safe.
Yeah, and your police and fire and everybody
Yeah.
else are going, it's going to be
There's
bad.
a lot of roads in Westfield. Getting the kids here safely and getting them home.
Yeah.
Previous superintendent, Dr. Scallion, she made this one comment to me, and I never thought of it before, and it makes perfect sense. She goes, it's not the buses. The buses can go through snow. The bus drivers know how to drive through snow. It's those juniors and seniors that are your newest drivers.
Yes.
She goes, they won't take the bus because they got their license. They're going to drive. She goes, even though it's maybe 100 kids,
Yep.
she goes, you want those kids safe.
And it's also
Yeah.
the walkers, too.
Yeah.
You know, we
it's-
get up every morning as educators, and we have parents that send their children to us, and they want them to come home in the same condition they left their house. And that's the
Sometimes
most,
you want to strangle the little
yeah,
kid.
you know, and it's
You
interesting
can't.
because that's the piece about our job that is the most important. Like you as a parent are entrusting your most prized, I don't mean to say possession, but
Yeah,
really
they are.
to us
Absolutely.
to make sure they're educated and they're safe.
Did you hear the story in New Jersey?
No.
Oh, we're going to go to break. And, I'll tell you about that story in New Jersey. Crazy story. Talk about keeping your kids safe.
Yeah.
It's 7:41 in the morning. Matt Collins, newly appointed principal of St. Mary's High School, is my guest this morning. We're going to take our last break of the day, and then we'll come
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by Westfield Bank. For more than 160 years, Westfield Bank has been an important community presence and commercial leader in the Pioneer Valley. With convenient full banking services in Westfield, West Springfield, East Longmeadow, Agawam, Feeding Hills, Springfield, Southwick, as well as Enfield and Granby, Connecticut, visit us on the web at westfieldbank.org.
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by Comcast and Xfinity.com, offering Xfinity TV, Internet, home phone, and home security services. Information on all that Xfinity has to offer in the Westfield area is available online at Xfinity.com. Support for community radio on WSKB is provided by Betts Plumbing and Heating Supply Company, an independent, family-owned wholesaler serving Westfield for over 50 years, specializing in plumbing, heating, and industrial piping supplies. On the web at bettsplumbing.com or at 14 Coleman Avenue in Westfield. Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by the Dunkin' Donut Shops of Westfield and the Sardinia family. It's nice to know that even as the world changes, Dunkin' Coffee remains the same at 7 convenient locations throughout Westfield.
We thank the generosity of our underwriters. For more information, please contact the Westfield State Foundation at 413-572-8646.
He rules the roost on Thursday from 6 till 10. It's Patrick Berry.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
Live from the campus of Westfield State University. This is 89.5 FM, WSKB, Westfield.
Live around the world.
You're listening to the Westfield News Radio Show on WSKB 89.5 FM Westfield.
Here's your host, the owner of the Westfield News Group, Patrick Berry.
Good morning again, Westfield. 7:47 a.m., Thursday, June 21st, 2018. 67 degrees outside, getting up to 84 today. Going to be an absolutely beautiful day. What do they call it, Pete? Chamber of Commerce weather, right?
That's it. I introduced Patrick to that term.
Chamber of Commerce weather.
Whatever.
I've never heard it, but it sounds pretty good.
Right?
Yeah.
Concert on the Green tonight, first of the year, Motown Review. Actually, I'm looking forward to that. That could be a good
fun,
musical choice,
sounds
something
good.
different. I will give
That's co-sponsored by WARE 97.7 and 1250.
Bruce Marshall.
Bruce Marshall. So they're the co-sponsor of this one, and the Kicks is the middle one, and then the last one is the Jazz Professors, isn't it? I think it is.
Yes, you're right. Absolutely
It's
right.
gonna be
We're actually going to have a tent set up down at the Kicks one. We just got word on that, so that'd be great.
Third Thursday of each month, June, July, August. Tomorrow is Art Walk Westfield. So tomorrow
Correct.
night, what's that?
And the Farmers Market. Farmers Market's today.
Farmers Market's today. Tomorrow's the Art Walk Westfield. That launches, and then next Friday launches Friday's Locals in the Lot music series. So that'll be every Friday night through the rest of the summer. But that starts next Friday, June 29th.
Is that the one that's down like next to the tobacco barn?
Exactly.
Yeah, Mina's Wine and Spirits.
Yeah,
Yep.
Probe did a wonderful job sprucing up that whole area
and they
down
paved
there.
a lot too.
It's beautiful down there, so that's going to be fantastic. You know, we Tina Gorman says it on Wednesdays. Pete and I say it on Thursday. All the hosts say it. Is there's just so much going on in Westfield. You know, people talk about
People used to
there's
complain
nothing to do.
used to complain there's nothing to do, and we were talking on the mayor's show about it, and the mayor's like, there's so much to do that I can't go to everything
right.
anymore.
I'm sure.
It's funny, at the Westfield High School graduation, Mayor Brian Sullivan got up and he said, and I give him credit for this, because he said, you know, kids, go out, make your name, but come back. You know, and it's so true, because
that's what you did.
Yeah, exactly. But you know, my kids are 18 and almost 19 and 21, and they're in that they can't go in a bar. You know, so there's really not much for that age set. And what I say to my girls is, well, come up with it. what do you guys want to do? You know, so go out, learn things, and come back. You know, it's so important but there's plenty, as for us adults and for the little kids, it's that like 15 to 21 age group. There's really, it's hard for them, and I get it. We were all there, you know. So Matt Collins is my guest this morning. Matt is the newly appointed principal of St. Mary's High School. You start 2 weeks from Monday, right?
Yes.
Right. So today's your last day of school up at Hampshire Regional, and then taking a little bit of a break. Enjoy your little bit of summer, and then it's right back to full-time work.
You know what's funny? It sounds like this is the same conversation we were having with Zapp on his last show 2 years ago.
Okay, yeah.
When he transitioned from principal to superintendent.
Exactly. Yeah. You're right.
It's transitions can be scary, but it's I'm looking forward to it.
It's a big challenge.
Yeah.
You know, I know the question that came down, it probably got funneled to you. You know, you had a pretty good gig going.
Yes.
You know, public schools, you know, good pension, good income, very stable environment. And then you jump into a question mark. And I'm sure your wife, Lynn, probably said to you, and a number of others, like, what the hell were you thinking? You know, but there's a passion.
There is a passion, and to me, I look at it as I'm coming home. I started everything about me, who I am as a person, started at St. Mary's. And I do get very emotional and passionate about it because I believe in the education there so much, and I believe in, it's more than just the education that you get there. It's the lifelong connections that you make, and we've talked about that already. It's the it factor about that school.
And it's hard to put your finger on what that is.
It is. Yeah. It is. The word niche. It's a niche. That school is. You got to get in there. You got to see what we're about. You got to talk to people. And our best promoters are our students and our recent grads and our alumni. And a lot of alumni send their children back there. And a lot of alumni that have reached out to me said, if I was closer, that's where my kids would go. And so. Yeah, I did. I'm leaving a secure public school job. People do say, what were you thinking? And it goes back to just having the faith sometimes of, I know, I'm not going to say I know I can do this. I know we can do this because I can't do it alone.
Absolutely.
You know, I have this.
You know, one thing that's happened in the last couple of months is the families have stepped up. You know, the auction that took place a couple months ago, the volunteers came out of the woodwork and made that the best auction ever for a fundraiser. The golf tournament turned into, you had to turn people away.
We did. We turned away 11 foursomes because we were full.
Right. So, you know, the parents and the families of St. Mary's students and even alumni and so forth have really stepped up to help out, maybe not financially, but just lend a hand to do things.
They have. And you know what's been great about that? It's not just the high school families. Dawn and Chad Erickson, who really kind of led the way on the auction, it wouldn't have been what it is without it. Preschool.
Oh, wow.
So they're so dedicated to the success of St. Mary's Parish School as a whole that they are full force in supporting our school. Good. And Dina Hall's kids are in elementary school. Carol Lucardi, she has a high school student. She has one that graduated. Yep. She has one that's going to be a junior, and she has a second grader. So
Christina Lovelace's kids.
Yes,
you're going to have them for a while too.
So I look at that, and to me, those are the people that made the decision for me to come that much easier, because I know we have this support from the younger kids all the way up through the high school kids. I still have parents of kids that graduated on June 1st. They were volunteering at the golf tournament on June 9th. They're like, whatever you need from us, we're not going away. Yeah. And that's what you get. They don't go away.
You know, it's interesting because I shared the story of, you know, we had this little celebration at my house. My kid, my youngest, finally is out of the Westfield public school system. You know, throwing away that calendar of, you know, half days and service days or whatever.
Yes.
You know, and I said to my wife, I go, we're done with school. You know, done with public school. You know, to your point of, you know, St. Mary's parents don't necessarily do that. They, even though their kids may be gone, you know, they still help out.
Yeah, they still come to drama productions. Yeah. They still come to sporting events. They come to fundraisers, and they're just there.
Right.
You know, because they now want to give back to what they got.
Exactly. Yeah. You know, it's interesting. You talk about the drama performances. I think one of the things people don't realize too is Westfield has or St. Mary's has a drama department.
They do,
and a pretty good one to boot.
Yeah, we actually did Footloose this year, and so did Westfield High School. So it was interesting that both schools did Footloose in the same.
I didn't realize Westfield High School did it too.
Yeah,
that's funny.
Yeah.
So again, just another offering that St. Mary's provides the students that that I think parents don't realize that's there.
They don't. And here's the interesting thing: I was a 3-sport athlete in high school. I'm a sports guy. I love baseball, basketball, soccer, whatever sport I can play, I'll play. I also was in every drama production at St. Mary's,
really?
And I'm not an actor or a singer, and I sang. Only because I was.
Well, that's why they had to replace the windows
yes,
in '93.
Absolutely. That might be why they were talking about closing down. I'm not sure, but the thing is I felt comfortable enough in my environment to take the risks that I needed to take,
But everybody was doing
yes,
it.
Everybody.
All your classmates were involved in everything.
Yeah.
If they weren't on stage as an actor, they were helping out with sets.
Yeah, I mean,
selling tickets, setting up, cleaning up, whatever.
Coach Casey in the fall and Coach Kelleher in the spring were like, I really need my team to be at practice, but there's a drama production.
That's what they said about Timmy, because he lost out on a major role in their spring production this year because he couldn't be there for opening night. They were playing Westfield.
Yes. So that's what it's about, and come down and see it, experience it.
It's funny. I graduated in '85. In late '89, I moved to New York City. Moved back in '03, but never had a chance to go into St. Mary's School until I took over the paper 7 years ago in 2011. Nicole Nietzsche was there at that time.
Okay.
I went over, introduced myself to her. We sat and talked. She gave me a brief tour of the high school, and it was the weirdest feeling. Just because I had not been back in, 25 years, something like nearly 30. No, it was over 30 years because, it was 85. Yeah. No, it was almost 30 years. Excuse me. See, my math is terrible. But it was just a weird feeling to go back into that school. But it was fine. It was a weird feeling, but it was like, it's like,
It's like coming home, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it was kind of nice. It was kind of
Yesterday, I moved my boxes from my office at Hampshire Regional of my personal stuff down to St. Mary's, and my wife and my son helped me, and I backed my car up and I unloaded it, and I went to the door and I pulled in the door. I'm like, it's locked, and then wait a minute. I have the
I know
key.
the code, right?
So going in there and putting my stuff in there and being like, wow, what would Sister, she might be listening, what would Sister Maureen think if she knew that I am taking this place over?
Know.
And I think she'd be really proud of me, which is good.
Who was principal when you were in high school?
Sister Maureen.
Okay.
Sister Maureen Sheehan.
So I don't even want to go. The principal
wasn't Sister Betty, was it?
No, she was principal my freshman year, and then we had a couple, and Mr. Gilbert was my senior. It was awful.
Oh yeah,
anyway,
Mr. Gilbert. Yeah, I remember him.
But I had Paul Romani as a civics history teacher, and he was such the anti-establishment. He was your typical '60s anti-Vietnam, and then he became principal. We ribbed him to no end.
He actually hired me to be the AD when he was still principal.
Wow.
And I used to say to him, don't you remember the times when you would take that AV cart and jump out and fly across the room like Superman?
Oh, absolutely. So. But that's what made it special.
It did, because you just felt connected. When you went to school, you were going there, and it was school, but it was home.
Right. So when you get settled in, and I recall right outside the principal's office there was a bench.
Yes.
Is that still the Patrick Berry Memorial Bench?
You know what? My name might be on the one of the elementary schools.
Right. Well, there might be a lot of names on those benches. But Matt, our time is running up. But thank you very much for joining me.
It's been an absolute pleasure.
Hopefully, people out there get the message. St. Mary's is a viable education option from pre-K through grade 12. Not only this September, but hopefully for all Septembers moving forward. Good luck to you in your new role. I wish you the best. As I said when we started 2 hours ago, you're probably the biggest cheerleader of that school. You're in the perfect role now, so good luck to you. Ladies and gentlemen, my time here is done. I will see you on the radio next Thursday morning with City Clerk Karen Fannion. Hopefully you've learned something about Matt and St. Mary's. Even though I've spent 12 years at St. Mary's, I certainly learned stuff through you, Matt, so thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
Ladies and gentlemen, have a great summer. I will see you on the radio next Thursday.
WSKB's programming is generously underwritten by Whip City Fiber, Westfield.